opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of Salem Communications, staff, management, or advertisers. Activist Radio is on the air. You've tuned into the Mark Harrington Show, sponsored by Created Equal. Mark is training a new generation of leaders to take on the culture of death and win.
All right!
If you don't like abortion, don't have one.
The only thing that can be said to be objective truth is that there is no objective truth.
It does come out in one piece. It comes out in one piece.
I would argue that we certainly are not all created equal.
And now, here's Mark.
The voice of resistance back on the air. That's right. You've heard about the war on women. We're going to talk about that today on the Mark Harrington Show. You're radio activist here on WRFD. The war on women. We hear it all the time. The left, the Democrats, the pro-abortion folks, they throw that one out, and they make conservatives and Christians out to be these folks who are against women, who are waging a war on women. Well, is that true? We're going to talk about it today on the Mark Harrington Show. I'm going to be talking about a group called STOP Patriarchy. STOP Patriarchy. Now, if you don't know what patriarchy is, basically it's this: a family, a group, or government controlled by men. Basically, that's what it is. And there's a group out there, a strong pro-abortion group, that believes that we live in a patriarchy in America, apparently. And they're out to stop that. And they have launched what they're calling the Abortion Rights Freedom Ride, and they're going to be heading into the state of Texas, playing off the Civil Rights Freedom Rides, which sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yours truly, Created Equal, Mark Harrington. We have what we call a Justice Ride, similar to the Civil Rights Freedom Rides. And I wonder, is this any coincidence? Could they be imitating what we're doing? Well, either way, we're going to find out. Is there a war on women? And we've got a couple audio clips, and this is from a rally to launch the Abortion Freedom Ride. Let's go. Clip 1, go.
Without this basic right, women can't be free. Abortion on demand and without apology.
We have been recognizing that there's a growing state of emergency confronting abortion rights.
There's still a culture that accepts providers being hunted, stalked, threatened, and killed, where science is discarded as just one opinion, and fanatic religious fundamentalism is upheld as an equally valid opinion.
And we notice that this has been an escalating situation for decades now, and especially the last 3 years. There have been record restrictions every single year for the last 3 years. So we planned this ride.
There's been enough generations of women who've had to fight for this right, who've had to see this. And with my generation, we've seen this crazy assault. We've seen the murder of doctors. We've seen the bombing of clinics. And then we've been denied real sex education, and we have heard nobody say the word abortion. That's ridiculous.
Abortion! Abortion!
Now it started in 1966, and we've been fighting on these issues ever since then, and we will keep fighting.
Well, there you go. That's from the Patriarchy rally to launch the Abortion Rights Freedom Ride. And they talk about a state of emergency on abortion rights. Is there one? Is there really? I mean, please. We've had abortion on demand for 41 years in America, virtually unchecked. 41 years. It's still legal and now funded by our federal government and expanding every day. But they believe there's a state of emergency. They go on about the violence, supposedly, against abortion providers, that they've been hunted, stalked, and killed. Well, we decry all abortion-related violence and force against abortionists, against the facilities, against stalking. We're all against that. The pro-life movement is the most peaceful, non-violent movement in history, truthfully. And after 50 years, we regret that 8 abortionists have been killed. But if you compare it to other social action movements like anti-war movements, the civil rights movement, there's no comparison. In 1967, between 67 and 70, there were 5,000 bombings related to the anti-Vietnam War movement. In 69, there were 100 people jailed for rioting in Washington, D.C. In 1969, 300,000 anti-war demonstrators marched on Washington. 500 of those were rioting, and many were put in jail. In 1970, we know here in the state of Ohio, Kent State, 13 were shot and 4 died. Civil rights movement, 1966, riots killed 2 people, injured 65 in Chicago. In 67, Newark, New Jersey, riots produced 23 dead, 725 injured. During the same time, 5 days of violence in Detroit killed 43, injured 234. I could go on and on. And we understand, remember the Rodney King event? The entire city of Los Angeles was on fire. But yet, supposedly, the pro-life movement is violent. Well, we know better than that. But it plays well if you are Stop Patriarchy. Let's go to clip 2. Go.
Yeah. The second thing we're doing is it's long past time that we got off the moral defensive.
The movement that won the Roe decision, and it was outpourings of people in the streets that really contributed to that happening in the first place, was uncompromising and unapologetic. They did not call abortion a tragic choice.
Abortion Rights Freedom Ride has heard from people across this country, and hundreds of people have signed onto a statement at stoppatriarchy.org for abortion on demand and without apology. And from someone in Texas, I had an abortion, and I am thriving.
Well, she says she's thriving. I wonder. You know, she talked about street activism that led to the abortion rights decision, or legalizing abortion, decriminalizing abortion on demand. The truth of the matter is, it wasn't street activism, folks. We understand. It was 9 men on the United States Supreme Court that decided the entire issue for hundreds of millions of Americans. There were no street activism to speak of. She talks about a tragic choice. You know who she's quoting there? Mrs. Hillary Clinton. Tragic choice, she called abortion. What other choice, what other right that we find in our U.S. Constitution is tragic? There's nothing tragic about the right to bear arms or free speech. We understand that abortion is a tragic choice. These folks want to basically ignore that. Let's go to clip 3. Go.
There's a lot of Christians who are motivated by their spiritual faith to seek justice, equality, and all kinds of positive things. But those people who want to enact a literalist interpretation of the Bible and of the Old Testament, with all of its punishment towards women, gay people, and other people, and its ignorance against science, these Christian fascists, I think, are appropriately called Christian fascists. It is long past time we stop letting them have the moral high ground.
Wow, Christian fascists. I guess that's me. At least that's what she would think anyway. By the way, I wonder if she's ever looked at the definition of fascist. Do you know what a fascist is? A government ruled by a dictator. That's what fascism is. And a government that does not allow disagreement. As far as I can tell, America is not a fascist state. At least not yet. So I don't know where they're getting that. They say a literal interpretation of the Old Testament. What part of "you shall not murder" don't we get? I mean, that, there's no other way to interpret that one, literal or not. You shall not murder. And then finally, she talks about that an acorn is a oak tree. that was popularized by Judith Jarvis Thompson. And the argument is this, is that an acorn's not an oak tree, it's just a younger, it's part of the oak family, right? Well, that's similar to the abortion issue, right? The preborn are simply younger than the born. They're of the human species, just as the acorn is of the oak tree family. It's just younger, underdeveloped. See, what's behind this movement, unfortunately, this Stop Patriarchy, these radical pro-abortion folks, is what it's this, one of these $64,000 words. It's called misandry. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Misandry. It's a hatred of men. It's a hatred of men. That's what's really behind all this. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that many of these women have been mistreated, probably by men. And therefore, there's anger there. There's hatred. They want to lash out at men, thinking men are all the problem. They're all the problems of America. And if we just have equality with men on every front, it'll all go away. It'll all be good then. Let's go to cut 4. Go.
Yes, there is a war on women. This fascist anti-abortion legislation, it enslaves women to our reproductive organs.
Wow, reproductive organs. Is that all women are, I guess? That's what they think. Is there really a war on women being waged by the right wing, by pro-lifers, anti-abortionists across America, or is the real war on women abortion? See, I think the real war on women is abortion. A while back, we talked about the tragic death of Lakeisha Wilson, who died in an abortion facility in Cleveland, Ohio, as she was attempting to procure an abortion. That's the war on women. Abortion harms women, both emotionally and psychologically and physically. And abortion kills women. What about gender side? I wonder what the Stop Patriarchy people think about sex selection abortions. Is that a war on women? See, this is the problem. They think that abortion enslaves women. They think that this is forced motherhood, and therefore it's enslavement. Nobody's forcing women to get pregnant. I haven't noticed that yet lately. This is a choice they make, and when they get pregnant, they have to live with the consequences. No one's forcing them to be a parent. But once they've made that choice to have sex, to lie down with a man, and they get pregnant, the choice is over. And that's the way it should be. And real mothers, real women understand that. And unfortunately, this group is gaining momentum, and groups like it across America becoming more radical as they believe that they are seeing the eroding of abortion rights. So that's the problem. They're afraid that they're losing, and they are. And when we get back, we're going to be talking to Dr. Daryl Rodriguez, who lives in Texas, where the Abortion Rights Freedom Ride will be coming. We're going to be talking to him. He's the president of Love of Truth Ministries. We're going to be talking about how do we respond to this argument from the abortion rights folks, the abortion supporters, that there is a war on women being waged by Christians and conservatives across America. You're listening to The Mark Harrington Show, your voice of resistance. We'll be right back.
What do other pro-life leaders think of Mark Harrington and Created Equal? Listen to Lila Rose of Live Action.
Just wanted to say that I stand 100% with the efforts of Created Equal, with getting the truth visually out to students on campuses and inspiring them and equipping them to have that debate with fellow students, to encourage them to really question their support for abortion and encourage them ultimately to see the humanity of the unborn child, the violence of abortion, and ultimately to join our side, which is the winning side, the side of life.
Mark Harrington is a missionary and free speech advocate, and Mark has been on the front line of the debate over abortion for over 20 years. Mark needs your prayers and financial support. Please support Mark and Created Equal by going to createdequal.net or send a check to Created Equal, Post Office Box 360502, Columbus, Ohio 43230. Your gifts are tax deductible.
Well, I hope you're radioactive. You may not have a radio show, but I hope you're active at least and involved in the battles that we face as Christians on the front lines of the culture war. And I call it a culture war. I'm unashamed in that position. It is a culture war. It's a spiritual war. It's a culture war. A clash between good and evil. And we're talking about that on the program today. My guest by phone is Daryl Rodriguez, and he was born in San Antonio, Texas, attended the University of Texas at San Antonio, where he received his bachelor's degree. And he also attended Dallas Theological Seminary, and he's the president of Love of Truth Ministries. Daryl, thanks for being on the Mark Harrington Show.
No problem. Great to be here.
You're a good man, my friend, and let's talk here. You're part of, kind of a partner of ours down there in Texas, using some of the same resources, the tools that we use here and across America, and that is abortion victim photography and other things.
Sure.
As you know, Daryl, we've been talking recently about this Stop Patriarchy group that's coming to Texas with this abortion rights freedom ride, playing off of the civil rights movement freedom rides as we have done. And, I think that there's an argument to be made that they're basically aping or imitating what we're doing. But needless to say, they want to play off of the imagery of the civil rights movement to try to make their point that the equality for women, which means abortion on demand without apology, is the civil rights movement of today. What do you think?
Well, I think that this group is interesting. I mean, obviously, we're against things that are demeaning to women. I think we have a lot of common ground with actually what they say. As I'm looking up their website, they say that they are against women being abused and beaten. Well, guess what? If you're a true man of God, or even if you don't believe in God, you should be against that. They say they're against rape and pornography that degrades women. Well, we're against rape and pornography of all kinds, sex trafficking. So those are some things that I would say we agree with. However, yes, there are some things that they believe that we don't agree with, like their stance on homosexuality and, of course, their view on abortion. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to doing some counter-demonstrating as they prepare to come down to South Texas to try to educate them on what abortion truly is and why it's not a good thing as some of these other things that they're against.
Yeah, and so this group is bringing the abortion freedom ride to Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Brownsville, and the reason they say they're coming is because they're saying that abortion rights are being restricted. There's a state of emergency. They cite that in 2011 there were 46 abortion centers in Texas. Now there's only 6. Praise God. And in 6 states across America, there's only 1 abortion center. So, I mean, they have a point that obviously we're winning, they're losing, but they are still very active and very focused. And this abortion freedom ride in the state of Texas, which I think, as you would agree, is becoming the new ground zero, is a good place to take their tour to.
Exactly. I mean, I do think they're a little bit fearful of everything that's been going on, as you mentioned, with the abortion facilities closing down. And I think that they are, becoming more active. We were up there in Austin when the HB2 was going into effect, and there was a group of probably a few thousand of them that came out, and we were there to also stand up for the truth and had abortion victim photography there to show them what abortion really was and what they were fighting for. But yes, I think that they are a little bit scared, and so we plan to be there. We plan to counter-demonstrate and to educate them and to share the truth with them of what abortion is, and the truth, point them to the truth of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And I think it's important that they need to see that. They need to see the photographs, and I think photograph shows more than words can say, and so we're for women. We love women, but we just think that the unborn women are just as valuable as the born women. So we care about the unborn women as well.
Right, and I think that'll be the message as we work with you, Daryl, is that the real war on women is sex selection abortion. The real war on women is abortion itself, which harms women and in some cases kills women and robs them of their motherhood. The real war on women is not restricting abortion rights or supposedly restricting a birth control. And of course, as you say, the real war on women is the war on preborn women. And, they ignore them. They're willing to throw them under the bus. And I think, Daryl, you share my view on this. We're not at Create Equal, neither are you at Love of Truth Ministries. The ambulance chasers of the movement. We're not out to follow groups around and counter protests. That's not what we do. But when a message is raised up, when a countervailing position of the pro-life view is raised up and going to get the kind of play in the media and elsewhere, there has to be another view. And so we are compelled as Christians to go out and counter that view.
Yes, exactly. And really, God wants us to do that, to stand up for truth and righteousness, to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. And so when, yes, as you said, is when they have groups like this that are going to be that active and basically say that abortion should be legal, well, we need a counter voice to basically speak against that and say, hey, not everybody thinks as they do. This is the truth, and here is the truth. Here's some pictures of the truth. Is this really what we think is right? Is this really moral and good, or is this evil? Is this murder? Of course, we think it is.
Right. And so, Daryl, we've got about 2 minutes left, so I want to talk more about what you're doing in Texas there. Explain what Love of Truth Ministries is and what you've been doing and will be doing. We're going to be partnering with you this fall to go to some of the college campuses in Texas. We're looking forward to that. But explain, and also speak to just the listeners as to why, as a Christian, why would you get involved?
Sure. Well, my ministry, Love of Truth Ministries, part of what we do is called the Justice Project. It's one of our main projects, which is really similar to Created Equal. It's an anti-abortion activist ministry, and we train people how to dialogue, how to defend the rights of the unborn. But we don't just train them in the classroom. We're all about activism and getting out into the community. So, yes, we go out to public places. We go to the Alamo down here in San Antonio, where we've been going for almost 5 years now, interacting with people there. And we also started going to college campuses and universities, as you have as well. And recently we went to UTSA just a few months ago, and some other colleges. So we're planning to organize something in the fall too as well, where we're planning to go to several locations, such as UT Austin, University of Texas in San Antonio College, and probably the Alamo and other places as well. So we really desire to get out and to talk to people, to share the truth of what abortion really is. Again, we feel like abortion has really lost meaning in our culture. We can look at all these other injustices around, like sex trafficking and abuse and all these things, and most people would agree these things are wrong, they're illegal, but when it comes to abortion, my thing is, out of sight, out of mind. I mean, it's going on behind closed doors. It's in the womb where people can't see, the brutality that's happening in the womb, when little babies are ripped apart limb from limb. So we feel like we need to really share that truth with people, and so we're planning to do that this fall, hopefully, with you guys as well, and interact with anybody we can.
My guest has been Dr. Daryl Rodriguez with Love of Truth Ministries. Folks, here's what I want to exhort you right now. We need your help. We've got a city that's got 3 abortion centers, and on various occasions they're uncovered. There's no one there to stand between the baby and the abortionist. We've got campuses in our own city Ohio State, Columbus State, others, Denison, Otterbein, throughout Ohio. We need people. We need boots on the ground. We need people to go into the field and spread the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ, which includes the sanctity of human life. Please join us. Go to createdequal.net. I beg you, we need your help. createdequal.net. We'll be back next time. You've been listening to The Mark Harrington Show, the voice of resistance. God bless you. God bless America. And remember, America, to bless God,